Hi, Alan. How you doing?
Doing great. Hi.
It's Michael Persh calling from Australia.
Michael, is it? Okay.
Thank you so much for.
Tell me about your medium, Michael. I'm afraid I don't know anything about it.
I basically have an online radio show that streams on the internet, and then folks can download it afterwards.
Oh, I see. Right. Uh huh.
And one of the things I do quite regularly is ask my listeners to write in and tell me who they would most like me to say hello to. And over the past 12 months, there are two folks who have eclipsed all others by about a third, and they were Chris Thompson, who you of course are familiar with, and your good self. So there's quite a lot of interest in what you're up to from Australia.
Right. Is it aimed at record buyers or musicians or general public? Who's it aimed at?
Most of my listeners are, I guess, the folks that sort of grew up in a similar age to, I'm about in my 40s, so people that grew up that sort of age group that the artists I tend to talk to don't get a lot of exposure on mainstream radio anymore, and people just don't really know what they're up to, and also it's the people that I grew up with and I'm interested in myself what they're up to, so that's the sort of demographic.
I see. Okay, very good. All right. Well, I've got a picture now. Okay.
So as I said, I spoke to Chris Thompson yesterday actually, and it was lovely to say hello to him.
Where is he living now?
He's still in the UK, but he's actually holidaying in New Zealand at the moment.
Oh, is he really?
So not too far from here at all. But
did he stop by on his way down, or are you in Sydney or?
I'm in Adelaide, which is
Adelaide. Huh?
Yeah. So he's holidaying there for a while, but then I think back to work back in the UK after that.
Right. He was living in the States for a while, and I kind of. I think he moved back to the UK just as I was arriving.
Well,
I've been in the US almost 11 years now. So.
We did speak about the work that you guys had done together, and he really did enjoy that, especially the live work that he did with you.
Oh, that's good to hear. Yeah, well, we enjoyed having him. He's a great performer. He really is, and there's not many singers of his caliber, around much lately. He's such a great voice and a great performer. He was a joy to work with.
He has a great voice indeed. One of the most fascinating things I've found about the Alan Parsons Project since that time that the live album came out in the mid '90s is the entity that is the project has completely gone full circle. From now it's a much loved and well known live act, but certainly had nothing even like that in its beginnings.
No, we made a conscious decision in the early days that it was not going to be an act that could appear on stage. I mean, it was essentially a songwriter. A non-performing songwriter and a non-performing producer who had hired a bunch of session musicians and talented vocalists and so on, and it just didn't seem like it was a touring entity at all at the beginning, and we kind of stuck to our guns on that. We used lots of orchestration and lavish production styles, lots of backing vocals, which would have been very difficult to reproduce live anyway. So we just said, no, this is going to be a studio outfit, and we will not look towards performing on the live stage. But that changed, because sampling technology improved, and the keyboard technology improved enormously, allowing sounds to be recalled on keyboards and stuff. So by the time about 1995, when we did the Trying to King Once album, it was 94 or 95, I think. That was when we decided, actually without Eric's help, that Ian and Stuart of the original project band got together, and Andrew Powell, and we all said, let's album and then take it on the road, and that's exactly what we did.
And it's been a huge success ever since. But one of the things that I've noticed recently, that there's some footage kicking around from the Live in Madrid DVD, is you, especially yourself, you can't wipe the smile off your face. You seem to be having the time of your life.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I mean, essentially, I was a little worried, especially in the early years of playing live, that I just didn't have the chops, that I didn't have the ability to play live. But I dusted off my guitar and learnt my guitar chords again, and I've been growing in confidence ever since we started playing live back in the mid-90s, and we've gone through some changes. I moved to America, and we've got an all-American band now, and it's been working really well. We've played most places in the world, but unfortunately not down under yet. So we'll have to try and put that right over the next couple of years.
It would be seriously love to see you down here. Would be lovely to have you come and play for us, indeed.
Yeah, well, we're just waiting for the phone to ring. We're not. I'm not turning down anything that's come from down under, but I would imagine that promoters are just finding the expenses of getting us down there just prohibitive. I mean, it is a long way.
It is an ongoing problem that we are so far away, and the population and the cities are so far apart that is even once you get here, touring is quite a logistic nightmare. So it does make it hard indeed.
Right.
And you have some.
I was actually in Australia for a cruise, a holiday cruise, just over a year ago.
Okay.
Which was wonderful. I mean, we had a great time. We went all the way down the east coast from Darwin all the way down to Sydney. Very
good indeed. Fantastic.
That was great fun. It was good to go back up so long. I hadn't been to Australia since about I think it was 1978 that I first went down to Sydney to do some promotion, and then this was the first visit to Australia since. So it's been far too long.
Indeed. And you have a new product out, and a very interesting new product out in the form of a DVD, The Art and Science of Sound Recording.
Yes, it's actually 3 DVDs. It's 10 hours of material. It's like a complete television series in actual fact. But it's been doing really well. We've got an enormous amount of positive criticism on it, and I'm very proud of it. And that was pretty much 3 years of my life behind me making it. So I'm really pleased that it's doing well.
And it's a very timely release as well, because I think, and I'm not sure if you agree, but in recent years with the advent of Pro Tools and folks being able to record at home, that the art of being a sound engineer really is becoming a lost art.
It is, and I think it is timely, because people do need they need the voices of experience. I'm not saying that I'm the only voice of experience, but throughout the DVD there are other engineers, producers, artists, all talking about their experiences, their preferences, their what they like to do in the studio, and what they hate doing in the studio. And I think so few people in the modern age, in the Pro Tools world and the laptop recording world, have had the benefit of that experience. So it is timely. You're right.
It's interesting. I had the pleasure of having Simon Phillips on the show recently, who's not only one of the greatest drummers in the world, but quite a well-respected producer and engineer himself. And he was telling me that he's getting so much mastering work because people will record, but really no one knows how to master a record anymore.
That's interesting, because I respect Simon enormously as an engineer. Of course, he's a brilliant drummer, but I didn't know he was doing mastering. That's interesting. I've always maintained that mastering engineers who do it all day, every day, are the people to go to, because they know what's out there. They know what they know the sort of the competitiveness of sound, levels and all that stuff, and how much compression to use, all that kind of thing. But so Simon's doing mastering. That's interesting.
You mentioned the
good luck to him.
and you mentioned there before that the voice of experience, and you certainly are the voice of experience. I guess it's fairly well known around the world that you really did some early work at Abbey Road with the Beatles. But how much was Glyn Johns a mentor and an influence on you back in those days?
Well, he was an enormous help to me. In my early experience with the Beatles, but it has to be said that we only probably did a maximum of 7 or 8 days together on the Let It Be album. So it was all fairly rapidly executed, the period that I worked with them on that. But the Abbey Road album, which came after, although they were released in reverse order, the Abbey Road album was the last. I did much more time on that, and of course working with Jeff Emmerich was a great experience on that. And over the years, all the engineers and producers I worked with ended up being, so-called, mentors. I always, so much of what I've learned, in the music business has been just by observing others, literally. So, big influence from working with Glyn Johns, George Martin, Jeff Emmerich, all the great engineers and producers.
And on the subject of Let It Be, correct me if I'm wrong, but you would have been one of the few folks on the roof of the Apple Building when the Beatles last performed.
That's right. Yes, and that was a great day.
Do you pinch yourself and think?
Hard to forget that day.
Indeed.
It was an amazing experience. It was.
So working on.
It was all very last minute at the time. It was like I woke up with I think it was Paul who said just literally the night before. What we'd like to do is set up mics on the roof of the building and then just set up as a live band and play. And so the Beatles being the Beatles, we just made it happen. We got the necessary long cables to run up the stairs and onto the roof of the building and made it happen that next morning.
Indeed, a huge piece of history indeed. And it was only recently that there was the news hit that there was talk that EMI were going to demolish Abbey Road Studios. And I think I think someone's bought it. Is that the case?
I don't think they were ever going to demolish it, but they did have it up for sale.
Okay.
And I think that was put to a quick stop by the public outcry that it caused.
It did indeed, and so it should. Those.
There were all kinds of rumours flying around that Andrew Lloyd Webber was going to buy them and all that kind of stuff. But I think they withdrew it from the market when they sensed the public outrage at the fact that it might not remain as a recording studio. That was the danger, that it would be converted into a block of flats or something, and nobody wanted that.
No, indeed not. That would be a travesty of immense proportion.
Indeed.
Look, from Abbey Road, you're also very, very famous and very well known for the work you did on Dark Side of the Moon. How much creativity did you play in that role? Did Dave Gilmour give you, and the guys give you a lot of space to be creative in that format?
Never call David Gilmour Dave, by the way. He doesn't like it. I've always felt that my contribution to Dark Side of the Moon was a valid one. I mean, when you are an engineer working with an artist in a recording studio, it's a very tight knit thing. It's not like working in an office and you do your job in your office and the other people do the other jobs in their offices. You're in a very sort of close knit environment, and I became a part of the team, and it was I think it was a very successful and creative team, and I like to think there's a lot of me in the record as a whole.
Is there any particular tunes that that you were particularly look back on now that you think were because in the opinion of most people around the world, the whole LP is just a masterpiece of sound and engineering. Is there anything particular that stands the test of time for you?
Well, I think one of the most iconic moments is the introduction to time. You know, the ticking and striking clocks.
Yeah.
And that was totally my idea. You know, that it would be used as an adjunct to the sort of clicking bass thing that you hear before the tune starts. And you know, I think it's, you know, possibly the most memorable moment of the whole album.
Indeed, and I agree, it is indeed. And I think people don't really have an appreciation, and maybe the DVD that you have out at the moment will accentuate that a little bit. But an engineer's role in the studio is not just to get the sounds; it's also to manage the musicians, and a producer's role is even more to get the best and keep those musicians creative and happy. It's not just a role of in there and pressing buttons, is it?
Well, no. I mean, in terms of how the role used to be, I think it was far less creative and far less sort of part of the team kind of thing. I mean, engineers, you know, put out mics, got a sound balance, and then the producer would be the interface between the engineer and the artist. And the producer was the one who essentially chose the material and directed the artist and told the engineer what he was looking for in terms of sound. But engineers became more creative, more likely to pitch in ideas, more likely to try effects and that kind of thing in the 70s. And that was the period that I started doing it. So it's a sort of a thin dividing line these days between a producer and engineer, and that's why so many people like myself are producer/engineers. You know, they do both jobs. Mm-hmm. And the other big difference, of course, if there is an engineer and a producer, and there's a big success, the producer gets rich and the engineer gets paid a salary.
And I'm guessing that was the case for you on Dark Side of the Moon.
I'm afraid it was about £1 an hour I was paid for Dark Side.
So and people would assume that you were a rich man from that. So that's interesting.
It is a common misconception, yes, that I got rich on the Dark Side of the Moon, but I really didn't. I just established a reputation through it. That's all. Indeed.
One of the common things that a lot of the people I speak to on the show, and I totally agree, is that the generation now that listens to music, back in our day, it was a joy to put on an LP with a pair of headphones and just lose yourself in that piece of music for 45 minutes or so, and that doesn't seem to happen anymore. But and for me, Tales of Mystery and Imagination was my go-to record. It just captured your imagination for that time, but also every time you sat down and concentrated on it and let it take you away, you heard something different.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. Yes, I think the days when we did bring home our shiny new piece of vinyl and take off the shrink wrap and put it on the turntable and turn the lights down and all that stuff. It was great. It is something that's missing from the music listening experience of today. And I also miss the halfway point. On vinyl, you got a chance to play side one and then go and put the kettle on for a cup of tea and then play side two. That was I think an interesting part of the music listening experience that has gone from today.
Well, it gave you that extra dynamic, didn't it? That you'd have a start and a beginning for both sides of the LP. So
That's right, yeah.
And in particular on Tales, the rise and fall of the House of Usher was, to me, just a magnificent sonic experience, and I still love to hear it now.
That's great. We did take a risk. We had that long orchestral piece at the beginning of it, and I wasn't sure at the time whether that would be accepted or not. And but most people seem to love it and the way it develops.
Have you ever been tempted to put an orchestra together and do that live?
Certainly been tempted. Just haven't found the right environment to do that. I mean, I'd love to do it one day.
And I and many Alan Parsons fans around the world were very happy when the reissue came out of that, which featured Orson Welles, which was recorded but not on the original release.
That's right. He was taken on to do this big launch party that we had at the Griffith Park Observatory in Los Angeles, a planetarium. We did a big sort of planetarium presentation, and that's what he was taken on to do. But it was so magical that adding his voice to the album that it was such a joy for me to see it come out on that reissue in '87.
It gave it a whole new dimension, and as you say, it was.
The sad part for me is that I never met him.
Okay.
He was sent a script, and we thought we were going to get a phone call from his agent saying, well, he's available on this day, and we would go and record it, at some studio in Hollywood somewhere. But what actually happened is he just delivered a tape to the record company boss, and we put it on and heard it, and there was nothing that could be improved. It was absolutely perfect in every way.
Fantastic.
So it's sad I never met him. I would really love to
Indeed.
shake his hand and tell him what a great job he is. That never came about.
And iRobot really changed things in Australia, and I think in the UK, I Wouldn't Want to Be Like You was a very major hit here and got a lot of airplay.
Yeah, I mean, the UK was never very strong. I mean, we made an impression on America, but and most other European countries, but somehow the UK market eluded us, and I don't know why that is.
And the following LP, Pyramid, to me was quite a departure. There was quite a sense of humour in that record that really wasn't evident before.
In Pyramid?
Yes.
I suppose you're
Lyrically.
referring to Pyromania, probably.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a little sort of tongue in cheek, and yeah, I enjoyed that humorous element of it. But yeah, I mean, I think by the time Pyramid came out, I think that was around the time that I first came to Australia.
Okay.
I seem to remember that all three albums were in the top 30 or something. All the first three albums, which was quite an achievement. And in particular, New Zealand, I think we had a couple of singles in the chart at the same time down there.
And was that about the time that you and Eric moved to Monaco?
We moved to Monaco right after Pyramid,
Okay.
to make the Eve album, and yeah, that's when it was. It was basically following the success of the first three albums that we moved to Monaco, and then we made the next two albums in France.
So Turn of a Friendly Card was certainly a lyrical reference to Monaco in many ways indeed.
Oh yes, absolutely. I think I could never say otherwise. I think Eric was always a gambling man, and I think it was possibly inevitable that one day he would write songs about gambling.
Actually, on the subject of Eric, of course, he passed away in 2009. There was very much a chemistry with you two. There was just something very magical.
Oh yes, indeed, and I'm the first to acknowledge that. He's a great songwriter, really, and a very very generous man as well.
And a great vocalist. You've had so many great vocalists appear on the recordings, but Eye in the Sky, for instance, and I believe it was the project's biggest hit in the United States. Eric actually sang that.
Yes, he sang Eye in the Sky, and he also sang the first time he sang on one of the albums was on Time, on the Turn of a Friendly Card.
Yes.
But this was always a point of contention between us. That I was always looking for the new voice or the great voice for songs rather than go with the same voices we'd always heard on the demos, which he would inevitably do. But I was proved wrong. He ended up having an identity in his voice that was associated with the Alan Parsons Project, and I can't deny that he was instrumental in making a lot of those songs which he sang hits.
I agree, though, Alan. It was also always a great of great interest and a pleasure to hear the different vocalists work together, and a lot of the guys that you used were known names, but not particularly well known names. So it was good to have those reintroduced to us, some of those folks.
It was always something we spent a lot of effort on to get really good voices. But we tried to avoid getting names that were just too well established. We preferred to use names that had perhaps been. I hesitate to use the word has-beens. There were quite a number of occasions when we did use effectively has-beens, but there were favourites. There were favourites like Colin Blunstone, John Miles, and I think I actually regret not doing more with Alan Clark, because he established himself with the Hollies, of course, and I think he did a great job on Breakdown, and I kind of wish we'd got him in to do a couple of other songs in later years, but I don't know, somehow never happened.
Indeed, and I do agree, that was a lovely tune indeed. And I was always interested, always thought that Al Stewart might pop up, because you made some magnificent records with Al Stewart. Time Passages is a lovely sounding record, and I always thought it would be nice to have Al pop up on a project record one day.
Oh well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he's ever sung a song that he hadn't written himself.
Okay.
But I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't think we ever asked him to sing a project song, but maybe that's something that could still happen. I'm still in touch with Al, so maybe I'll ask him to do something in the future.
You never know. And from after Eve and Turn of a Friendly Card and the subsequent records really established the band in the United States in particular, you had huge success there after that. So was that what prompted you to move to live in the US?
What, after which album?
Well, really, Turn of a Friendly Card and Vulture Culture started to do very huge business.
I was still a fair way off moving to the States at that point. I didn't move to the States until 1999. So it was a good way off. And effectively the Alan Parsons Project ceased to be in 1987. So there's still quite a gap of time there.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always liked America. I mean, I although I'd not sort of established a permanent home in the States, I had lived for short periods in America to make albums, notably with Ambrosia and Al Stewart. A lot of Al Stewart stuff was done in America, so I got used to the idea of living in American hotels or apartments, whatever.
I just wanted to finish off, Alan, by just we mentioned Chris Thompson at the start of our chat, and Valid Path, the record that he sang on, was quite a departure, very very electronic and very computer orientated.
Very electronic, you said?
Yeah, for my ears anyway.
What, on the stuff that he did with me? That was electronic?
On Valid Path.
Oh, on a Valid Path, yes. Yeah, that was much more electronic, yes.
Yes.
Sorry, I thought you were saying that the stuff that Chris Thompson had done was electronic, and then I was trying to fathom that out. But no, Valid Path was an experiment with a number of luminaries in the electronic music field. I did a track with the Crystal Method, and I did a track with a British act called Spongle. And there were a number of other contributors as well, but we sort of combined the electronic element with the classic rock element. I managed to convince David Gilmour to play on one of the tracks, and so that was a bit of a coup at the time.
Indeed, you obviously didn't call him Dave.
I did not call him Dave. No.
and the
he actually sent me an email once saying, you know, when it comes to the credits, no Dave.
and just to finish off, the new DVD set has a new tune on it as well. All our yesterdays.
As it was actually recorded specially for the purpose of the making of the DVD. You see it pretty much evolve right from the earliest moments right to the final mix.
Probably fascinating.
So, you know, that was, I think, a good decision on our part to do that. And it is actually out there. You can download it online. It's called All Our Yesterdays. We never actually released it as a tangible CD, other than on the Art and Science Project. So it's there on the DVD, but it's not. That's the only sort of hard copy you can get. But it is very much downloadable if you look for it. Good.
I encourage people to go and have a listen. It is a great tune indeed.
Oh, thanks.
Well, thank you, Alan. It's been a pleasure to say hello, and as I said, there seems to be, from what I'm hearing, a great interest in what you have done and what you're doing at the moment. So I hope one day that will bring you and the band to Australia.
I hope so too.
And
nice. Yes, I love it down there. It's a great. Well, in certain parts of Australia, it's a great climate, and I'm sorry to hear of your troubles down there with the weather. You know, I know you've had some tough times down there lately.
Yeah, the north of Australia has been hit badly in the weather department, but I'm on the other side of the country, fortunately for myself.
Right. All right. Well, good for you.
Can I just get you to do a quick tag for me before we finish up?
Yes, indeed.
Can
I ask that you quote the website address at some point? It's artandscienceofsound.com.
You can include that in your tag if you so desire. But
all right, okay.
I will include it and also put it in the notes for the show. But
okay, great.
My show is called.
What would you like me to say?
My show is called Sitting in a Bar in Adelaide.
Sitting in a Bar in Adelaide.
That's right. If you can do me something along the lines of "This is Alan Parsons and you're listening to blah blah blah," but get your URL in there as well.
All right. Hello, this is Alan Parsons, and you're listening to Sitting in a Bar in Adelaide, and I hope that you will listen to the interview I did recently with Michael, and that you will check out my latest DVD project, which is called The Art and Science of Sound Recording. You can check it out on the web at artandscienceofsound.com. Okay, great to... let me say something else. Hope you'll check it out, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you, Alan. It's been a pleasure to say hello, and please pass on my thanks to Lisa for setting this up.
Sorry?
Say thank you to your good wife for setting this up for me as well, if you would.
Okay, I will, for sure. Thank you.
And as soon as it's available online, I shall send her a link, and you can have a listen. And again, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure.
All right, pleasure for me too.
All the best. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.